Punta naman tayo sa fake news. Okay, nabiktima ka na ba?
Maraming nabiktima na ginagamit yung logo namin ng ABS or ng ANC. Some of our images were manipulated as well to support disinformation. And that's really something that you should fight, that every news organization should address.
Pero what would you consider yung malaking fake news nung nasa ABS ka pa?
Well, marami, no? There were a lot of fake news and disinformation in relation to our franchise crisis. The item that said ABS-CBN was not paying taxes, for instance. We tried to correct that, but no matter what we issued, there are still people to this day who believe that we deserve to be closed because we were not paying taxes. May ganun pa ring narrative, hindi ba? I think that's the worst. And the other one that's important and to me very misleading is yung sunod-sunod na pagsasabi na ang ABS-CBN News ay nagpo-propagate daw ng fake news, hindi ba? That also had some appeal, I guess, to certain people.
What can you share? Ano yung mga nalalaman mo tungkol sa mga online trolling sa Pilipinas?
Well, of course, many of them are paid to do what they do. There were stories, news reports that uncovered that. Aside from that, yung mga troll farms, meron ding totoong mga tao, Butch, na totoo ang paniniwala nila either sa isang politician or sa isang grupo, no? And because of those beliefs, they are so either anti-ABS, anti-administration, anti-opposition. So there are actual people who are so vocal about their beliefs. Sometimes they ignore facts just to present their opinion and propagate it.
To the point of bigotry na.
Exactly. That's why our society right now is so fragmented, hindi ba?
Kung ikaw si Catriona Gray at total, tatlong paligo lang naman lamang niya sa'yo. Kung yung tanong sa kanya dun sa contest, no, parang should marijuana be legalized in our country, anong sasagot mo?
I don't know if we're mature enough to have that. I live in a place right now where it is legal. I think the medical use of it should be legal. There's nothing wrong with that because it can really be used for medicinal purposes. The recreational use, on the other hand, I think should be given more thought, should be given more study.
You're in California, di ba?
Yes.
Okay, so legalize ang marijuana sa California.
Yes, recreationally too. Oo. Hindi lang
you can buy in, let's say, in Costco. Where do you get those?
There are certain stores where you can get it. And then there are also products that have it like gummy bears or
Really?
oils. Meron siyang ganon. Oo.
Tapos ito naman, punta naman tayo sa women's issues. Okay, ito ever since patagal-tagal na pinag-usapan ito yung tungkol sa abortion, sasabing my body, my choice. What's your stand on that?
Napakahirap niyan. Kasi in the Philippines, we're a Catholic country. Napakahigpit ng simbahan sa bagay na yan. I think women should have control over their bodies, of course. Women should be allowed to take control of their bodies. But having an abortion law in the Philippines is probably, it's not gonna happen. I don't think it'll pass. I don't think there will be enough support for it in Congress. We don't have a divorce law yet. Mauna muna sigurong matupad yon bago yung abortion. Baby steps yan, Butch. I don't think our Catholic upbringing would really allow our legislators, our society to accept legalized abortion. Even I have mixed feelings about it. I do believe that a woman has to have control over her body and has to be the one to decide what to do with it. But I am also, at the same time, hindi ko pa masabing I fully support abortion.
Sa gender pay gap, yung supposedly mas mataas ang bayad sa lalaki kaysa babae. Pero ako parang hindi ko naniniwala doon. Ikaw, naniniwala ka ba doon? Sa ABS ba nung araw? Sa ABS ba totoo yun?
I think in all companies, totoo yun. I think ABS was far more advanced in addressing that issue because ABS-CBN early on made sure that competence was high in the determination of one's compensation.
Kaya ba mas mayayaman ang female newscasters kaysa male newscasters?
Hindi naman. I think
Hinuhuli lang kita. Hindi ko
oo,
alam.
hindi naman. Pero depende kasi yan sa qualification, alam yon, sa competence. May iba-ibang qualities kasi na that determine kung ano ang bayad sa iyo. If you are on camera, di ba? Or even if you are an actor, I wouldn't know if gender had anything to do with that in terms of on-camera talents. But di ko alam sa artista.
Wala.
Walang pay gap.
I think hindi nga competence popularity eh.
Oh, popularity.
Kung meron
Yes, that's also something.
May drawing power ka. Dapat ba talaga mas mataas ang bayad sa on-cam talent kaysa doon sa mga nagpapakahirap sa likod ng camera?
I don't agree with that actually, but yun nga lang, yun ang nandyan. No? That's embedded in the whole network structure.
Not only the network structure in the
industry. Yeah. I really think that should be addressed. I hope that is addressed because in one whole day, how many people work to produce one story, diba? There's the reporter, the cameraman, the driver, the writer in the newsroom, the desk editors, the executive producers, the production assistants, the video editors, etc., etc. And yet their pay is really much lower than the one who reads and introduces the news item.
Okay, isa na lang sasabihin ko dyan. Mahal ang bayad sa privacy. Parang yun ang binabayaran. Yung privacy ng on-cam talent. Kasi marami ka i-give up eh. You agree with me?
In a way, marami kang i-give up. In ABS, you're not allowed to do commercial endorsements. Yes.
Yung halimbawa, newscaster na kahit saan, hindi ka pwedeng kakalat-kalat sa ang bar dyan, beer house, or any, place of ill repute. Samantala, a writer.
But who really wants to go to a place of ill repute?
Hotel. And people would not care.
Pero iba na rin kasi ang panahon ngayon eh. Everyone is, most of us are known to the public too, right? Kasi because of social media. So the behind the scenes people are no longer as anonymous as 10 years ago, say.
Last na lang to. Ging, tandaan mo, ang on-cam talent, yan ang nagbibigay ng pang-ospital ng staff, kamag-anak ng staff, panglibing ng kamag-anak ng staff, sa kanila humihingi. I'm sure aware ka dyan.
Oo naman. And really, there are some of them who are really super generous. And not all of them are paid that much, ha? May alam ako na talagang grabe kong tumulong pero hindi rin naman ganun kalaki ang talent fee. I think, we're all human and there are among us angels and give a part of themselves to those in need, especially among colleagues.
Okay, punta naman tayo sa ghosting. May pagka-showbiz na to.
Anong ghosting ito?
Yung kay Gerald Anderson at kay Alonso.
Talagang tatanungin mo yun sa akin, ha?
meron nga kayong showbiz features.
Yeah. We did those stories.
So, paano nyo babalansin? Lalo na at that time, pareho yung talent.
We did stories on the ghosting issue. And we tried to talk to both parties. I remember. Minsan nagtatampo sa akin yung dating Star Magic dahil dyan eh. But, a story is a story, and if it's something newsworthy involving our talents, we can't do anything about it but just present their side as well.
Do you really think dapat ang news program dapat merong showbiz news?
It is a legitimate segment. It has its purpose in a news program, in a news lineup. Even the newspapers of old have showbiz sections, hindi ba? Entertainment sections. There's a need to balance the content, no? I mean, there's serious news, there's political, there's business stories, there are all sorts of economic stories. But then you also have sports, for instance. Sports is a very unifying topic. Aside from that, you want something to entertain your readers or your viewers, and that's why you have entertainment stories and entertainment sections. I don't think it is unnecessary. I think it's a equally important component of a news lineup. It's for balance, and at the same time, there are really some newsworthy stories coming from showbiz.
Ito naman next question ko, medyo mahirap na because babalikan na naman natin isang masakit na chapter sa buhay mo as an ABS-CBN executive. Yung sa TV Patrol, can you tell us, kasi kami nanonood lang sa TV, binabantayan natin lahat. Pati nga GMA nanonood sa inyo eh. Can you tell us yung mga events and yung mga sentiments ng mga tao yung on that day nung nawala finally sa TV Patrol?
That day began like any ordinary day, but of course we were tense because that was the day that our franchise would expire, diba? COVID was still raging. The pandemic was still raging. It was still a very major national concern. And so we were thinking, di naman siguro mangyayari ito, may COVID. And we are doing our part in making sure the public is informed about the dangers of COVID, etc., etc. But then we got the information sometime between 2 and 3 p.m. There were 2 news people who informed me we will be served a cease and desist order. And so when it actually happened, we were shocked. Many people were crying already. In fact, people were dumbfounded. Alam mo yon, yung naghahanda na kami sa TV Patrol nung mga oras na yun eh. From my office, I walked to the central desk and told them, may cease and desist order daw. Can you get hold of NTC? Anyone from NTC, get a hold of them, get reactions. No? And then I said, we have to do the news early. Pinatawagan ko yung mga anchors to come as soon as possible. 6:30 pa ang patrol, pero I think we began the newscast sometime at 5 o'clock or 5-ish p.m. And then I went to a meeting online with the other executives. And we were told that, yes, we will follow the cease and desist order on that very day. And I was arguing, ngayon na, bakit hindi bukas? O, di ba? Bakit hindi sa ibang araw? Why can't we seek a TRO? Etc., etc. And the lawyer said that it was final and executory and that we had no choice. And so I said, so paanong gagawin? We'll do the news. We'll preempt everything, okay? So yeah, and that's why I called the anchors to come early. Na iba yung lineup, so the reporters who were doing other stories returned to base. Basta naramdaman ko na lang, biglang dumadami ang tao sa newsroom. Ano? They were all lining up the stories that were related to the franchise. And people were starting to cry because there was a time na biglang, hindi ko na maalala yung exact oras, the exact time, but it was confirmed and I got a copy of the cease and desist order. So it was official. And so I tried to be strong and I was really giving orders in a calm manner, not crying, and I told people, huwag kayong umiyak, pinaghandaan natin ito. We knew this would happen. We should be prepared for this. Let's think of how we will do the news today. And so I told the EP, we should start as soon as the anchors are ready. We will cut into regular programming. We will sign off at the end of Patrol. It was decided that we would not do any teleseries, that we would sign off at the end of Patrol. So that's what they worked on. We were all quiet and not talking about it because, alam mo yon, ang storya ay tungkol sa iyo. Our people knew the implications of a cease and desist order. It was never going to be the same for all of us. So at that time, they were trying to put the show together. Dumating yung mga officers, dumating sina Cory, sina Mark, sina Carlo, pumunta sa office ko. And I said, Carlo, you would record your statement here, blah, blah, blah. Kasi kailangan nilang mag-video ng record ng statement nila, Mark and Carlo at that time. So we were busy, stressed, tense, sad, and shocked at the same time. The anchors just went to the studio and talked among themselves. And it was still Nolly, Ted, Bernadette. Kim was still there, and of course Gretchen. And then I told myself, we have to have a statement. If this is the last TV Patrol on free TV, I should write something. So I wrote a closing spiel for Nolly while the show was going on, and then I was editing it and all of that. And by this time, a lot of people were in the newsroom already. Ang dami nang dumating, nagsibalikan from their assignments from the field. Doris was uncontrollably crying. Shara was there. They were taking videos. May mga cameras na bukas. I don't know, documenting the moment. And I remember I talked to Mara, our station manager of DZMM, and I was giving her instructions na wala nang SRO, hindi na tayo after patrol, and na, ganyan-ganyan. And she was crying. Her tears were literally flowing on her face while she was taking notes on what I was saying. I wanted to hug her, Butch, and I could not. Because I knew if I did, I would possibly break down or cry too, And up to now, sabi nga sa'yo, whenever I think of those moments, it brings me back to that very place, to that event that was so tragic for many of us. And yes, and later on, natapos na yung newscast. Nolly arrived, Nolly and Ted, and all the other anchors went to the newsroom, and we all just hugged each other. And alam mo yon, we were just aimlessly walking, and hindi ko alam kung paano kami nakauwi. I don't remember how we parted. We just went on about our business, and siguro unti-unting umalis na lang yung mga tao, no? And we said that there'd be no news the next day, and there was no news the next day. I went to work, but we were not on air, and then it was decided that the next day we would resume TV Patrol on digital and on cable.
Okay, this next topic will make you even sadder. The ABS-CBN compound. And now they have to demolish. How do you feel about ito lang nga, parang you're saying goodbye to a landmark?
You're right, that makes me even sadder. There's no going back from there, right? At that time, I felt sad already because I knew that I was leaving a big part of my life. The only other place I considered maybe family to me was the newsroom. Whether it was the old newsroom or this one in this building, I knew that things would never be the same. Things will never be the same for ABS since May 5, 2020. And yet, I also knew on my last day that there would be more changes, that there would be other changes, other moves that would make the ABS-CBN we knew just a distant memory. Pero you can't help but really feel sad because it's a landmark. It's very historic. It's home to memories from pre-martial law to modern times when ABS-CBN really thrived as a company.
Kilala ka bilang si Ging Reyes. What really made you mad?
Mistakes in the news, basically. Mistakes in the news.
Like what it says.
News reports, glitches. The minor glitches I could forgive, but inaccuracies in reporting, to me, they're unforgivable. They should be fireable offenses, okay? But as it is, hindi basta-basta magagawa yon, di ba? So we have due process naman. Pero yun talaga ang nakakagalit sa akin ng husto, yung may mali kang ni-report or may pagkakamali ka sa facts na nakuha mo, and yet we reported it. And so we are forced to issue an apology and make a correction. Yon ang
Very embarrassing.
Yes, it's embarrassing, it's humiliating, and it's our job. It's our job to be thorough and to verify our information. Double check, di ba? Triple even.
Yung kuryente na news, sa isang taon, nakakailang kuryente kayo?
Bihira naman yan. I think maybe once.
I-define na nga sa kanila kung ano yung kuryente news.
It's a bum steer actually. It's reporting something that's not really accurate basically. Yung mapapahiya ka dahil hindi totoo yung binalita mo. Or ang common cause niyan is a source told you this would happen, right? One source tells you, this would happen. This so-and-so department will announce this in the coming days. And then you report it based on that one source. And then it turns out, hindi. Dinenay, no? It will not happen. This is not true. So yun ang na kuryente ka nung source because you probably trusted him or her too much. And that is why you cannot rely on a single source story, especially if the source does not want to be identified. Hindi pwedeng ganon, right? So you have to validate your sources. You have to make sure you have more than one source and that they are attributable. The sources are on record. Red flag if the source does not want to go on record.
So kaya nga sa broadcast dapat check and counter check.
Yes, yes.
Sa mga anchors naman, meron ka bang naging issue sa mga demeanor nila on cam?
Oh yes. In fact, I would always tell Nolly, don't comment. Don't comment on the news, kabayan. I would tell him that. Alam ko naman na nakakatawa pero wag ka nang mag-comment, sa ending ka na lang magsalita because while the news is ongoing, you cannot have your opinions be known there, right? Or make faces or smirk. Bawal yan. So I would always remind them about that.
Aminin mo, yung responsibilidad mo, ang bigat nun. Kasi ang credibility ng buong network nakasalalay sa shoulders mo. How was it like? Nakakatulog ka ba ng maayos every night? Or how much sleep are you getting?
In the beginning, I was feeling very stressed about the responsibility. In fact, I came back in October of 2010, right smack in the middle of that controversy between ABS and Willie Revillame, okay? So maraming issue. But then I learned to compartmentalize. And you know, as long as you treat people with respect, as long as you are honest with everybody, you'll get a good night's sleep. Even if you have problems, even if you know that there will be issues or things that would cause you stress the next day. You just have to learn to compartmentalize, Butch, because otherwise you can't sleep. You would be thinking all the time about the problems or about the issues that you would be facing the next day, or about budgets and about which show is doing well in the ratings and which ones are not. You can't have them, in your minds all the time.
Okay, nabanggit mo na rin lang yung ratings. So, nagpapanik talaga kapag lumalaylay?
Yeah, hindi naman panic pero close to it.
Sino napapagalitan?
Something close to it. Hindi naman galit. It's just that, guys, you need to do something. Anong content ninyo nung nakaraang linggo? What was your lineup? Look at your lineup. Find out what worked and what did not. Ganyan. If it's a program, you talk to everyone in the show, including the anchors, and you tell them that this is how you performed and your show has been on a downtrend during this last whatever minutes, di ba? So you need a stronger segment here. Mga ganon. Kasi na-analyze mo naman because per minute or per segment, makikita mo yung performance, yung audience viewership. For TV Patrol, we still look at the ratings for TV Patrol. It's rating pretty decently. Even if it's just on Channel 11 and on YouTube and cable, right? So, maayos naman ang TV Patrol as of the last time I checked. But TV Patrol is TV Patrol, di ba? Institution yan. And even if it's not on free TV in a massive scale, it is a show that people still watch.
Ito lang talaga, curious lang talaga ako. Baka nga ikaw makasagot. Kasi kahit nung sa ibang nung nasa ABS pa ako, laging sinasabi, parang pag may papagawang project sa akin noon, parang news and public affairs lang kami, so wala kayong masyadong budget. Nagpunta ako kami na ganun din ang drama, parang bakit ba wala kayong budget lagi? Ito ba ay press release lamang para makatipid?
It has to do with the time slot, Butch. So if your show is on prime time, then you know that the ad rates are high. TV Patrol enjoys that, okay? Enjoyed or used to enjoy that when we were still Channel 2. But if you air after 10:30 in the evening, your ad rates are way, way below. So your budget is really super small. If for instance, a 30-seconder in prime time costs 500,000, di ba minsan ganon? But for instance, it's 500,000. At 11 o'clock or 12 midnight, which is the time slot for our current affairs programs, the 30-seconder would be as low as, I don't know, 50,000. Masyadong mababa.
Ikaw na nga ang guest, ikaw pa magpapapizza. Kasi walang budget ang crew.
Kunyari, laki ang budget mo tapos hindi mo mabawi yon sa ads, then magiging lugi yung show mo. You'll be on deficit. And hindi pwede yon, di ba? Kailangan at least cash positive ka or break even ka man lang.
Bilang nanay ko, single mother, ikaw nagbabudget din, no? So,
Yes.
iba yung budgeting ng for TV at saka budgeting sa household expenses. And you were mother to 2 children. How did you manage that considering yung bigat ng responsibility mo sa network?
I think I have to credit my kids being resilient, most of the time self-sufficient. Of course, it helped that I had help from relatives. There was a time my mom looked after them. There were other times when some of my other relatives helped look after them. Iginapang ko yan sa totoo lang, no? Parang almost literally ginapang mo yung mga anak mo, no? Because I had no other financial support but from my job. I guess it's a miracle that I was able to raise them properly. They're good people. My son is married now and living here in Daly City. Oh, not in Daly City anymore, but in the Bay Area. And my daughter is also all grown up and is working. So I raised good citizens. I can say that. And totoo yung it takes a village, no, to raise a child because I had help. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to thrive in my career with 2 kids. I got married at 50, would you believe?
Can you tell us how it happened? The romance.
In a nutshell, we met in ABS, and then it was an on and off romance because...
His name is Milo?
Yes. Milo. He was head of our engineering at that time. We met there. Actually, we hated each other in the beginning because, alam mo na yon, usual conflict between news, between editorial and technical, you know. But then we became friends and it was on and then it was off. And then I went to the US and then it was off again. And then I came back in 2010 and that's when we sort of rekindled the relationship. We got married twice. We married in California in 2013. In June, and again he wanted a church wedding with all our families, and so we did one in February of 2014. My husband was such a romantic. We had relationships in the past. He was married before, so he had a daughter, and then I had my 2 kids. No? So we were a blended family. It was so fun, we did things together, except that my son was here at the time na. So we became very close actually with relatives, my relatives, his relatives. He was such an adventurous person. He was so outdoorsy. He was a mountain biker, a real hardcore mountain biker. He biked from Banawe to Sagada. To me, he was indestructible. He seemed like he would live forever and that we promised ourselves we'd grow old together. And so when he passed 2 years ago because of kidney failure, I was really devastated and I am still in mourning, basically. He was the love of my life. Not many people can experience that kind of love, right? That kind of relationship. I am grateful for those years.
What do you miss most about him?
He made me laugh, and I miss that a lot. He spoiled me too, would make me coffee in the morning. I remember I had crabs, I had crabs for dinner the other night at a friend's place. And all of a sudden, I just missed him because he would give me the crabs or shrimps for that matter nang nakabalat na. He would shell it for me. So, yung mga maliliit na bagay na ganon, mamimiss mo. I miss our walks together and his laughter, basically.
Ito naman, so yung future Ging Reyes in the very near future, ano mo plano? Magiging US citizen ba?
I am kind of conflicted about that, but I am staying here because at this moment I don't think there's anything for me in the Philippines.
Your friends?
I have friends, but in terms of a career, syempre, tapos na tayo dyan. Of course, I have friends. I still have family in the Philippines who I dearly miss. Maybe I see myself teaching, mentoring. That I also see myself in a little farm, maybe, or a little bed and breakfast, as I discussed earlier. Ganon, simpleng buhay na lang. I remember my husband used to tell me to slow down, Butch. That was his biggest request of me, to slow down. And I am finally doing that. Of course, it's just heartbreaking that he's no longer here to appreciate it. But I think I also owe it to myself to not worry about work and not worry about a career, diba? Just take things slow. Wait for a grandchild, maybe. I want to be able to help future generations. I want to make sure that there are still young people who would want to be journalists, Butch. This profession is noble. It is necessary, especially at this time of disruption, of change,
Fake news.
of fake news, of disinformation, and democracy under siege. Diba? Kailangan pa rin na magkaroon ng mga journalists, news people who are committed to our craft, who are committed to the profession. Kaya nakikita ko ang sarili ko na tumutulong na lang doon, no? Nagtuturo, siguro nagme-mentor, and in my own way, help shape young minds.
Well, anyway, so at this point, allow me to thank you personally. I want to say on behalf of the Filipino people for bringing us the news every night, practically at all hours na meron breaking news in the most responsible manner. Yeah.
Thank you, Butch. Thank you for having me, and I look forward to seeing you in the flesh sometime this year when I return.
Yes, looking forward to that. You can finally bond together. Something that we missed out on when I was there.
Thank you for thinking of me. Thank you for thinking of me. Hindi naman ako sikat para i-guest
You're always in our
show mo, ha?
Yeah. Anyway, maraming salamat, Ging Reyes.
Mabuhay din kayo. Salamat din.